UNH did get the breakout of this very nice pennant structure, momentarily kind of dragging its feet a little bit, only back down to this ascending trend line. It does appear we have some new bids and buyers that step up within these regions to push stock price higher. That being said, guys, my name is Dylan from Dylan's Trades. We're going to get straight into this technical analysis breakdown, stepping over first on the weekly analysis. On the weekly analysis of UNH stock price, guys, we were in a range for years and years, guys. So it makes sense, right? What we did this harsh correction. Of course, there was a lot of news and this and that, which does not help the case. But we had this huge volatility gap down into breaking this structure. So a bad negative news catalyst, multiple coinciding with a yearly range, guys. We're looking at each one of these candles represents a week for some of you guys who are not as seasoned as some of the people here watching the channel are. Right, so we've had 1 week, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've had so many days, guys. We come exactly down to this level and have a miraculous bounce, right? We come back down, hard knifing down, a miraculous bounce, right? We've continued to see this. So to knife down through this major region, is just not a good sign. And we've seen a lot of continuation of breakdown beneath that. With that being said, though, what comes down must come up, right? A little bit cliche, but it is really true with stocks, guys. This is a momentum game, a lot of aspect in ways. So we're currently looking on the weekly analysis of a poster boy. I said this in the last, I believe it was 2, 3 weeks ago, around these green candles down here, around that 298 level. We're looking at a poster boy for a red to green reversal, guys, a very common price action reversal in trend, right? This can flip either way, green to red or red to green. Within this context, we've seen a hard overextension to the downside, drastically printing multiple red candles in a row before starting to print green candles, right? Sellers leaving their position, taking their chunk of money, right? Short sellers exiting their position with newfound buyers stepping in, right? This is a short-term momentum trading pattern. So this really just indicates, right, a bounce. Somewhere around this 339 would make a lot of sense, or perhaps a little bit higher. This doesn't mean that we're in the woodworks, right? And we're going to skyrocket up and get to this, top of this range. If anyone says that, guys, run for the run for the hills. There's not enough signs for that as of yet, but it can happen. It can happen. So right away, looking on the weekly, guys, just within these contexts, we've been printing these green candles, getting ready for that red to green reversal. It did appear over here we would immediately get that, start to curl up higher and get that. We have been doling around a little bit. We mentioned within the last update that short sellers are tempting to step up within this bearish and go for wide bar, but we didn't want to put too much stock in it, guys. It's so simple, guys. I mean, we've knifed down 56%, 60, 67% from these lows. There's not as much in it for the short sellers. There's just not. Until we hard break this ascending trend line and really make a sizable movement down from this, then there can be a re-entry, right? Then it's a different story. We can see new sellers emerge within the market, establishing a position with a hard movement down, crushing below 300, 295, very, very strong. But that's not what we've seen, guys. We didn't want to panic. We mentioned how this is a very important spot where we likely just bounce, and that's what we're currently seeing. So on the current weekly analysis, guys, not much has changed. We're setting these nice wicks. It does appear price action will move higher. And if we really start to move up, guys, we'll see that red to green reversal we've been keeping an eye on. So in the short-term aspects, you got to love UNH, especially from a risk-reward standpoint. If we do crush 295 hard, $300, really start to flip load in this trend, yeah, things can be a little bit differently then. But until then, guys, we have a little bit of risk down here and a lot of reward up here. So there's a very good implied probability over the next week, 2, 3, 4, UNH does surge in stock price, eventually reaching 339 to 340. UNH, guys, currently did have this very nice pennant structure. And this is why we initially covered UNH, right? We have these obvious constraints bouncing around in this rough region, getting really, really tight, entering this region where we have to make a move soon. There's not a lot of room to make a movement. We ended up breaking above, consolidating for a day or two, and then getting the upside. This is a great example of a short-lived breakout, guys. Not every single region, when then we have this very nice tight pinch, guys, a very nice setup. And you can move these trend lines around a little bit ways, guys. I'm not super gung-ho. It's a rough region, guys. It's a rough region. So within this tight constraints, right, we have to make a move. A lot of green traders will think, oh, we immediately have to squeeze up. And in a lot of the case scenarios, we do, more times than not, guys. But this is one of those times where we did flip, right? Everything looked good. We had 2 nice wide bars moving up strong. We've seen a little bit of uptick in volume, nothing eventful. But then we really just started to dull out, right? And this usually is the spot. We pull up, we come down, and we just head up higher. It didn't happen, guys. We pulled back down to this ascending trend line from this initial breakout structure, roughly within these regions. You can move it around a little bit, guys. Some over here, some over here. But now I think this is the best spot, right? I'm not gung-ho about this, guys. The more I trade over the years and years and years, it's a rough region, guys. It's a rough region. So we've seen this rough ascending trend line. Buyers love to come and buy the stock. They step back up on this dip within this breakout. And that's what we're seeing, man. It really is as simple as that. We did have a newfound trend line with multiple touch points every single day of the pullback. Stock prices come up, so as this one day over here, and reject it. So it really was the question, guys. Do we reject again, or do we break this ascending profile? We ended up getting the upside, which looks very, very nice for the bulls with a meaningful candle, guys. And something notable is that we did start to see the volume confirmation. Now, it's not incredible as of yet, not the craziest breakout as of yet, but we have seen that we've had a very, very dull volume since this big gap down where we initially gapped down really, really hard. We came up hard, and then the volatility kind of died down. So to see a bar of volume really start to step up after really getting thin, even thinner and thinner, it looks nice. We do expect over the next day or two, especially if we see sustained price action movement upwards, to see these volume confirmation really ascend. If we see some decent bars of volume, guys, something really, really meaningful, that is the confirmation we will come up and meet this daily gap down high, guys, which is really the number one indication for the setup. Right, we initially started this pennant structure gap down from this hard gap down where we initially lost the top of this range mentioned on the weekly. Knife down, tried to get regain it as support. We use it as resistance, knife down, and then boom. This candle right here, guys, tells us everything we need to know about resistance and support, as there's a huge gap zone between the two. So this gap down, daily high with this perfect wick right there, this would be the spot where we expect now stock price to continue to move back up and work in that direction. As of now, there's a very good chance we do that. We will continue to cover this as this transpires as of now, but we're seeing a lot of upside momentum and a lot of nice confluence, guys. We've seen 1, 2, 3, 4 days holding on this trend line just over the last week, right? And now we've seen a strong confirmation over with a meaningful wide bar, little wick on the bottom and the top. But this is a nice breakout candle, guys. Just as we had over here, right? It did lead to another price action movement within the daily candle, right? So it does look good from a short-term perspective. And until we knife down, which I don't believe we will do, and break this clear ascending support, guys, right? Then we can move lower. Then sellers can step back in. But until then, guys, we've seen a lot of confluence in respect of this area, and we have breaking the sellers descending trend line. So I like the way the stock is looking, guys. I do expect this to come up to these highs, retest these, right? And if broken through within these highs, we should be able to move up higher, pressing into these upper price action levels. So until 317, 316 from a short-term perspective, it does appear very, very good to surge up quickly. On the hourly, guys, we're seeing a very nice breakout within this pinch, as we had this very obvious spot within this previous hourly structure. We knifed around, boom, we dropped below, found support here, found support again, pinching very, very tight where something has to happen, momentarily false breaking. But this is what you want to see, guys. You want to see a very hard price action movement to exit it, right? If we see some very choppy candles like this, it'd be a little bit different. It's definitely potentials for a false breakout. But as I'm now seeing strong liquidity, very, very nice bars, especially this one in particular, just being strong at a key level where it really needs to be. Being that we have a lot of downside if we do break from these lows, perfectly held up, breaking the seller's point. Looks good on the daily, the hourly, guys. So in conclusion, on the weekly analysis, we're seeing the red to green reversal be a little bit delayed than what we expected, but it does appear now we're right back in contention for that nice short-term momentum to the upside, right? Flip on the daily, we do see a bounce on this trend line, squeezing over the seller's descending trend line. And once again, guys, just a little bit of a blip in the road. A lot of times that are not, we continue to see price action get up to these levels quickly. We didn't, guys. Sometimes it just happens. It's technical analysis. We entered the descending channel, got the break up with a nice wide bar. It looks good. Centering back to the hourly, we're seeing strong liquidity breaking out of this moment and a micro bull flag on its smaller time frames. UNH looks really good here, guys. Being a multi-confirmation setup, we have a very clear parameter too for where stock price needs to hold above to be bullish. So with that being said, guys, if you found any value in the video, consider subscribing. We'll continue to cover UNH about 1 to 2 times per week. That being said, guys, have a good day. Take care, guys. Trade smart.